Hello, and welcome to this video on business models. This is the second video explaining the resources on business models. We suggest you watch the video on the innovator guide first. Once an innovator is ready to pilot their innovation, it is important that they also think about the best strategy they can use to ensure that their innovation generates enough revenue to sustain itself. This is where a business model comes in. So, what is a business model? Simply put, a business model is a plan that outlines the value an innovation delivers to its target group, how the innovation will be delivered and generate enough revenue to ensure that it is sustainable. It is important for an innovator to have an idea of what business model they will use because that is the key to the long-term ability of their innovation to deliver impact. It is important that innovator tries and tests different business models at the piloting phase so that they're able to gauge which model has the greatest chance of successfully supporting their innovation. This video presents a set of factors that innovators should think about while exploring the different business model options. During the prototyping stage, an innovator will first identify a problem and that their innovation addresses or solves this problem using small experiments in a controlled environment. Once this is done, they will pilot their innovation to see how well it works in the real world. It is important at this stage to start to explore what types of business model will support the innovation. Testing what model or models show promise is a key way of doing this. However, in order to do this, the innovator needs to narrow down the models that they could select to test. The first step in narrowing down a business model is identifying the buyer. That is, who is going to buy the innovation and how much are they willing to pay for it. As you will see in the cards, we have identified three main buyers, and these are the intended user, an intermediary, and a proxy buyer. The intended user is the most straightforward model, but as we show in the cards, this business model requires the user to have sufficient funds to pay for the innovative service or product. A proxy buyer is an organization or person that purchases the good on behalf of the user. The most common example of this is a government or institutional donor. These proxy buyers, however, will often use an intermediary. An intermediary is an organization that is often funded by a proxy buyer to provide services to crisis-affected communities. Innovators seek to sell their innovations to these intermediaries as a way of improving the intermediary's effectiveness and impact. In order to explore a business model, an innovator can use a business model canvas that looks like this. The canvas will help the innovator identify 9 building blocks that make up a business model. These are value proposition. What value does the product or service create for the intended user? Market and customer segments. Who will be using the product or service? That is, who is your target user? Key partners. No one can successfully work alone. So, who do you need to work with for your innovation to succeed? Key activities. What tasks will you be undertaking to produce and supply the innovation? For example, sourcing for raw material either by farming it or sourcing suppliers. Customer relations. What type of relationship are you trying to build with your customers? Key resources. What do you need to fulfill the value proposition? Channels. What medium will you use to interact and build relations with customers? And what medium will you use to distribute the product or service? For example, a physical shop or online shop. Cost structure. What are the major costs associated with running the business? For example, staff costs, rent for the shop, and transport. And lastly, revenue. How will the business earn money? The purpose of the cards is to present the different models that we have identified that suit humanitarian contexts, highlighting their successes, challenges, and risks. This is so that innovators can think through the different models and how best they fit their innovations. The first set of cards help the innovator explore the potential buyers. There are 3 options: individual customers who are the members of the disaster-affected community, proxy buyers such as government or donors, and intermediaries such as agencies, aid agencies, or NGOs. Once they have selected the potential buyers, the innovator can select the possible revenue model cards. These fall into 4 different categories. The first one is models for selling directly to the consumer. Then two-sided markets, where you need to provide value to 2 different users to successfully make a sale. The next one is proxy buyers, where an external party such as an NGO or donor buys the innovation on behalf of the beneficiary. And lastly, supplemental funding, where additional revenue is generated to support the innovation. Each of the cards explains benefits and challenges of the business model, as well as providing an example of where it can be used. The checkboxes on the buyer card will help you to see whether the revenue model that has been selected is appropriate for the intended buyer. The next step is to test the business model options that have been selected. Level 4 in the Innovator Guide can be used to help. We wish you the best of luck.